Okay, cool.
Let's get right into it, bro. So yeah, I want to officially welcome you to the show, Off the Record with Drae. It's a pleasure to have you on, man.
Thanks for having me. Feel
Of
honored
course,
to be
man.
a chosen guest.
Well, yeah, bro, you're actually one of the first few ones, man. So yeah, just wanted to give you a shout out real quick on X as well. Yeah, I've known of you for quite a while, through some mutual friends as well. I've heard a lot of great things about you, man. So yeah, really happy to get you on. This PowerPoint, like this interview, is it's tailored towards all sorts of people, investors, content creators, advisors, people that work directly within teams. So there's a good range of questions that I think will bring a lot of value to both of our audiences and a lot to learn, I'm sure. So we'll get right into it, bro.
Absolutely.
All right, bro. So first question, man. What was the moment you realized you should take crypto seriously?
My older brother worked for several hedge funds. He's a very
Mm,
successful fund manager. And when I finally got a big boy job out of grad school working at a lab, asked him about investment advice and what he holds, and he told me he just held Bitcoin and cash. And I was very surprised by that because my only interaction with Bitcoin or crypto before was very weird people who I did not take seriously, who
yeah.
were not serious people. And when he kind of explained the thesis for Bitcoin, says, "Hey, here's the white paper, here's some documents, go look into it." I started looking into blockchain tech. That's probably end of 2020, early 2021. Started doing research of understanding, okay, what even is blockchain tech? What are all these cryptocurrency things? Is there an actual potential here for something of value to be made? Is there real investment potential there? So it was really he was the first serious person that was invested in it, and that caused me to take a look into it.
So this was like 2020 then?
Very tail end of 2020, I
Mm,
started reading and doing stuff, so I didn't really get into it till probably spring of 21.
mm.
Because I was doing a lot of reading, trying to figure out stuff. I was still working at the lab at the time, so it was just in my spare time, reading a lot of white papers and understanding how the tech worked.
Mm. Yeah, it's pretty interesting with which hedge funds, man, because I was speaking with some guy that was, an ex trader at a hedge fund, and he was telling me how, they've been involved with crypto, even trading on an unofficial capacity, I guess, for a very, very, very long time. You know what I mean? Like since very early in crypto, it's only been the past few years where they've really started to become publicly more vocal about it. And, like I'm sure you were saying it was your brother, correct? That worked at the hedge fund?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's he probably knew of it as well for a little while. Yeah, that's crazy, man. Crazy. All right, bro. Well, what do I have next? So, what? Well, I'm assuming your background, man, must be like some sort of high level strategy, right? Because that's what you do with projects nowadays, and you do a good job at it. So, I'm curious, like your background as well as what you're up to now.
So I did my PhD in chemical engineering, and
Mm,
then I worked out at a national lab for a number of years, working on solid state battery tech. I kind of fell down the crypto rabbit hole in 21. Um, Long story of how I got into advisory work, but it was really kind of stumbled into it backwards. And the thing is, in my field and in the lab, we work with high pressure, high temperature, high voltage, corrosive systems. When things go wrong, they go catastrophically wrong.
mm,
We take whole classes just studying the disasters in the field. And so your number one thought process is how can this blow up and how do we prevent it from blowing up? And that's a little bit of a different perspective than most people have that are involved in the space, whether they're builders, investors, anything like that. And so I just approach things from that lens of like how things can go wrong, and would originally just reached out to teams of bags that I was holding, just wanted to help work for my bags, and help them not screw things up. And that just led to conversations. And again, long story of how I eventually got to the place of being able to help people just from having the experience of seeing so many iterations of projects launch and rise and fall and explode. You learn a lot of lessons of the mistakes that people
mm.
make. And then what I try to do is save people pain and save people heartbreak, so that they don't have to learn those hard lessons, themselves.
Well, bro, I'd assume that like it's a good approach because I'd assume you realize that every little thing matters. It's the same sort of approach I take too. Like I realize the real like little things, even like on a daily basis, right? The little intricacies of running a project, like it's all important, you know, not just the big overarching ideas, but the day-to-day processes. Like, would you agree with that as well?
Yeah, I mean that's how everything is. Plenty
Yeah.
of people have good ideas. I'm gonna go launch the next Amazon. I'm gonna go launch a restaurant chain. I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna do great. You have a good idea, fantastic. Everything comes down to execution and the details.
It definitely requires a sort of process, man, right? When you get down to the details, it can take a lot of planning, a lot of detailed brainstorming and thoughtful execution. Yeah, as you said. Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
So like right now, what excites you most then, man? Like what are you doing up to these days that like really excites you?
So here's where I'll go on a little bit of a rant.
Sure, man.
People either love me or they hate me in this space because I'll be straight up, dude. I despise most of crypto. This place is a den of vipers.
Yep.
Most of this is all vapor, trash, grift, scam, and people like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, acknowledge it. But it's like, no, bro, literally, it's like 90% scams. It's just ways to steal your money. This is not a serious place, and it's not where serious people do much business. And we see that playing out, right? If you were in the stock market this year, you outperformed almost all the crypto alts. Bitcoin did well. ETH is on the rise right now. But even then, it's not even as high as it was at the beginning of the year. Stocks outperformed all the crypto alts. Where's the edge? Where's the alpha? Where's the upside? And it's because cryptocurrencies, for the most part, are uninvestable trash, worthless fidget spinners that people try to pretend have utility. And
Even with
the
the
amount
bigger
of
caps
money,
too. Sorry to interrupt, but one could argue
yeah, even
even
the
with the
bigger
bigger
caps,
caps. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, for sure, right? What's the point of Lido? What's the point of Uni? These tokens are worthless. It's garbage. That's. I mean, I'll wind up crossing lines, telling people like, hey, that's why they were invented as scams to steal people's money. The tech is still good. Good things can still happen here. And there is maybe 5%, maybe 10% if you're generous of the people here have good intentions and want to build things of value. So if you're asking me what excites me, are the people that are creating tokens that are investable. Everybody says, we want tokens that aren't securities, and I'll be straight up, bro. If you understand what a security is, the passing of the Howey test, saying there's an investment of money, there's multiple people involved, there's an expectation of profit, and you're relying on the team to execute some plan. That's literally what you want. That's literally what you're here for. You want to buy a thing that the team is going to execute a plan and create something of value, and you're going to profit. That's the security. That's what you want. That's an investable asset. That's why people buy stocks. And what excites me are projects like Salutary, also known as Build for Weight on Twitter, where he's come up with a legal framework where the governance can have actual teeth of exerting enforceable control over a project. Not a dumb DAO thing, let's vote on every little decision for the day, but there is a legally enforceable contract where the token has real control over the company. Or something like Bricken, where they are tokenizing private equity. And now for that type of token, you have to be whitelisted and KYC'd and be legally eligible and everything like that. But there's something real there. So what excites me are the few people building in this space where they have an actual company that is going to make real money, and the token is tied to that company. And there's a couple different ways to do that, but it has to be there. And if that's there, then it's an investable asset. And the amount of money that is out there in the real world is orders of magnitude greater than all of crypto Twitter combined. And so for me, when I'm thinking about an investment that can be doing, 5, 10, 20, 50, 100x, it's got to be something that the big money can buy. And most tokens, big money has no interest in because they know that this is not something they can put on their books. So that's what excites me, is working with the protocols that are figuring out ways to make the token intrinsically and explicitly tied to the success of a business.
You know what, man? I like that. Like when it comes to utility products, I think we have a quite similar point of view. Like in general, especially the utility coins that like I invest most heavily in and work with most closely, they're the ones that I genuinely believe like everyone says this, but like I completely agree with you. Like the whole business first approach and the types of companies really that actual big players would want to get involved with, right? And it doesn't matter what it is, as long as there's real value there and it really can grow at scale and it makes sense for them to get involved. That's what I try to look for in advance. So I completely agree with you, man. And also I think 5 to 10%, as you said, that is a pretty good estimate in terms of people that are genuine and actually trying to create value. Yeah, good answer, man. I like that. Okay, all right. What's next? Oh, reflecting on your biggest win and loss, man. I'm curious. Like, what's the story, bro? Like, do you have any crazy stories of like, I don't know, just big successes, big losses,
Yeah,
learning lessons?
it, oh man, biggest wins and losses were last cycle. All fill me with shame because here's the thing. You asked the question. When did I start taking cryptocurrency seriously? It was spring of 21, and I was looking at what could be done with blockchain tech and tokenization of real estate. Right, like that whole thing is real big now. All the
Mm,
RWAs, but there were some projects. Looking at that and different logistics things and coordination. Every project that I took seriously that I thought was a real business, zero.
really?
Just vapor garbage, or the team scams and runs away. It's all exit liquidity. Every single project that I believed in, right, valued as a company, they're doing a thing, lost.
So
Small
was there
loss or
proof
huge
though?
loss.
But was there proof though? Like, what's the difference, I guess, between then and now, for example? Like, obviously you're more experienced in researching, but what specifically changed in your research, I guess?
Well, back then, I mean, one, I know a lot more now also about tokenomics and flow. Like that was a big thing, not understanding how the
Mm,
tokenomics and unlocks and all this stuff work. We're like, oh, you're just exit liquidity for VCs. They're about to dump their bags. So for some of it is like teams just slow rug and ghost. For others, I mean, you can just look at, okay, who's holding the coins? What valuation did they buy in? Who's ready to dump on you, right? That was one thing. That's where I lost tons of money there. The last cycle, it was after becoming more jaded and cynical. We were like, okay, this is a giant game. This is a big casino. Let's play the dumb Ponzi's. And I think biggest win was probably hitting one of those stupid dog meme coins in the spring, or riding up like Ohm and the Ohm forks, right? Like Wonderland Time. I don't know, made
mm.
made several million on that. Yeah, it was just everything was very, very dumb. I remember that whole fall of 21 being like, everything is so dumb, but I
Well,
guess I'm here
bro,
for
like
it.
the fact
Um,
that you're able to, so in that moment you could still realize that, like you didn't get blinded by it.
no, no, I mean it was very, very clear because like when Ohm launched in spring of 21, I remember being in the Discord. I remember looking through their docs and all their different stuff, and I was like, this is really stupid, isn't it? And everybody go, no, 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 no. The team's giga brains. The team is it's super smart. This is next level. And I'm like, is it? Maybe I am retarded. Maybe I'm the retard here. And they are really smart. And then I'd look at the docs again and I'd do the math and I'd be like, no, this is stupid. And then I'd get kicked from the Discord. And then I'd create an alt account and I would join the Discord to ask more questions. Be like, this is definitely stupid, isn't it? And then I'd get kicked again.
Bro,
And
it's
I
so
realized
annoying
like,
when they
okay,
kick
no,
you just for asking questions, man.
oh
Like,
yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But because the whole point is you make a cult. So like 2021 was full of believers, right? There were people that believed in Ohm and what they were doing and all this stuff.
Hmm.
And if you were sucked into it, like then you 3-3 and you hold and everything. And you could only make money if you could see past like, no, this actually is stupid and it's just you got to get off the merry-go-round before the music stops. So joined a group of people that were smart and hopped chains and did all the stuff, made a bunch. Um, it induces in you though a type of mental illness
Mm.
that keeps you addicted to the game because there are very few things in life that can give you the type of dopamine hit and rush as hitting it big in crypto when things are moving super fast. Very addictive thing to get involved in. And so even when you should be out, like I cashed out huge end of 2021 in December,
Mm-hmm.
but only to stables. Didn't actually bring it to fiat, right? Because I'm an idiot. And even though I knew I was like, hey, I'm out, market's done. Don't get involved in this. Little by little, dip my toes back in the market, and then all of a sudden I'm neck deep again. And I'm looking at
Wow.
myself like in third person, like you ever watch yourself doing something and going back to a behavior where you're like, what are you doing, bro? What is
Wow.
this? You know, you shouldn't be
Yeah.
doing this. Whether it's some addictive behavior with drugs or, anything going on in somebody's life, you're like, what am I doing? And I was like, watch myself in third person. Like, what the hell are you doing? You don't have an edge in this market. You're not good at this. You're just losing money. So eventually, after getting beat up in the spring of 22, I finally like, okay, I'm out. Really done out. I need to figure out my taxes and everything. So let me just put it all in stables. Maybe I'll earn some yield while we wait for that to happen. Turns out the stable I chose was UST, and the yield I chose was Anchor. So when that blew up in May of 22, that is
Fuck.
by far my biggest loss. That everything's
Fuck,
gone,
man.
and so just zeroed out because I had almost everything in UST. So that would be the biggest loss ever. So the lesson learned from that, and now I'm like way more PTSD about yield. It's just like I don't chase yield ever. I don't look for yield on anything. Now I'm sure a lot of the different stuff is safe, but I'm just like, all right, upside risk is some percentage point. Downside risk is you lose everything. How low is that risk? It's probably pretty low for a lot of these protocols, right? I mean, UST was very, very dangerous. I didn't understand the level of danger or the fraud that was going on with Terra, right? So that's on me. I'm an idiot. But now I don't do yield. I'm just like, I'll take my X's in crypto for things that are a good investment, and then I will just go to cash. That's just me. I think there probably are good yield opportunities for people. That's just outside my risk profile right now.
It's just not worth it, bro. Like once you've made a certain point, it's like, oh, the risk for an extra, I don't know, 10, 25%, it's just, yeah. But more than yield, I mean, it's also about the stablecoins, right? Like I've learned to also need to diversify between stablecoins. You got to be paranoid, bro. Honestly, making money means nothing if you can't keep it, is what I've come to realize. So I think it is honestly worth being paranoid, Yeah.
Yeah, two different skill sets is the making the money and the keeping the money. And I acquired the one of making the money last cycle. But again, last cycle was so easy to make money. It is money falling from the sky, retail showing up. I was retail. I was showing up. Right now, nobody's showing up. There's no one new coming to crypto. There are no new humans joining this pool. And institutions, they're not buying your altcoin bags. That's why I come back to that first point, right? Institutions will buy Bitcoin, they'll buy Ethereum. There may be some top end things that they will dip their toes into, but 99% of the coins, like you and me, are holding. If you're trying to make it, they're not touching that. Nobody new is coming to buy your bags. So you better be very, very careful about what you're picking and investing, because there's no money from the sky falling into everybody's lap right now. And that's why I think that the real pathway to the large gains are things that can be invested in by the large real players out there in the real world.
Yeah. I mean, it is really interesting you say that. I mean, last year there were many runners that did hundreds of millions, but it gets to a point where it's like, okay, what's the next level above that? What's the next step? And it's what you're saying, man. They need to be the ones that can actually be invested in by the big players. Otherwise, they're just they'll be limited forever.
Well, yes, it's just infinite dilution, right? Like last cycle, if something was at 100 mil, you felt early. You felt like, oh, dude, this is at 100 mil. Like, man, this is a small cap, right? We're practically lower than 100. We're in the nano cap territory. I remember seeing all those lists. Like, bro, you're early at 100 million. Things are running to the billions on the regular. Now, it's hard to get a single thing past 100. I mean, we do still see some huge runners like Kita went crazy this year. So there are still things, but by and large, it's rare to see something launch and get past 100 mil right now.
Agree. And even Kita, I mean, that's a good example of what you're saying, like real people getting in. I mean, bro, I didn't believe, I saw Kita early, dude. I saw it like 10 million market cap, and I didn't believe that, I did a classic mistake of just dismissing something, not researching further. I saw the whole thing about the Google co-founder being invested and stuff like that, and I was like, I don't believe it, and then just never looked at it ever again.
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly. You got to move fast. You got to do research. I mean, like when the Trump coin launched and like rubbed the whole market, I remember I was there right when it launched, and when it tweeted, and I was in total disbelief. I was like, no, it's got to be hacked, right?
Yes.
Right? It's got to be a hack, right? Like that can't be the thing. And I had a friend who was just like, no, bro, like this is real. And then the moment it happened, hit on his Twitter, right? When it went from Truth Social to Twitter, he's like, dude, this is absolutely real. There's no way. He's just like, there's no way both Truth Social and his Twitter account are both compromised and no correction has gone out. Like, it's got to be real. I'm still just in disbelief. I'm like, this is too stupid. No way. This can't be real.
I still can't believe it. Yeah, I still
Huge
can't.
into it. Dude, there's one of my friends who's one of the best on-chain trader. Like, because again, he can cut through all the emotion and the noise and just see, is there a trade here? Right? I get stuck in that emotion and the noise and the overthinking, and he's able to just be like, set all that aside. Is there a trade here? He went heavy. Dude, he made like, I don't know, like 15 or 20 mil on the Trump trade.
Wow.
Because he was able to see, here's an opportunity and move fast.
And not just
dude
that,
is
but
phenomenal at
and
it.
not just that, but I'm assuming, I mean, he would have had to take profits fairly quickly too, because it was a pretty short lived, bro. Like if you look at the chart, the all-time high.
It was like 2-3 days. Yep.
Wow,
like 2-3
man.
days in
That's
and out.
respect,
and
bro.
that, I mean, that, yeah, the dude is phenomenal at what he does. Like that's why he's rich and I'm poor.
Because greed could have easily, bro, I'm sure you're doing fine for yourself, but that's why greed could have easily got to his head, bro. You know, he could have thought he was a genius, could have gone for more, but he was smart by, yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Oof. Well, that was a good one, man. Good one. All right, let's move on, bro. What's a thought pattern you've had to remove or add to your game to finally start winning? And so this just applies to life, man, crypto, anything. Like, I'm just curious what comes to mind when you hear this.
Ooh, that is a really, really good question. What is a thought pattern? So I think number one would be removing the thought pattern of indulging in berating myself and giving into shame. When I lost everything in the UST crash, it is difficult to describe the level of embarrassment and shame that I felt. It's like, hey, we'd done it. I'd made it. All the dreams that me and my wife had, things we could do with our kids and all this stuff, it was within our reach. And I blew it all away, right?
Fuck.
And it's difficult to talk about that to people because, your friend is like, what are you going to do? Be like, hey, man, I made $10 million and lost it all. I'll come cry on my shoulder, right? It's a problem most people can't relate to. And so you feel isolated in being able to talk about it. And it is a very, very powerful experience that, again, if you haven't lived through it, is difficult to describe or relate to. But here's an interesting phenomenon that many, many men throughout history, around the world, both in modern and ancient times, when they have lost a lot of money very quickly, have killed themselves.
Yeah.
And you have to understand there's a very interesting phenomenon because these are men that are strong, that are hard-willed, that have worked hard, that are smart, right? That are driven. They're not depressed, suicidal types. So you think, what is this phenomenon? What is the weight of this emotion that has brought many men around the world over time to their knees of killing themselves? You have to understand that's a heavy, heavy, dark emotional place to be in, right? To take people that are not prone to that type of thing. Now, I was never in that zone of being suicidal, but just trying to articulate how bad that feels. And this applies in all aspects of life. Like we make a mistake, whether it's in some addictive behavior or in a relational dynamic or in trading or any of this stuff. And what do? We beat ourselves up. You stupid idiot. You moron. You completely screwed it up, right? We dwell on those mistakes and we shame ourselves inside our heads. And part of us, right, there's like two thought patterns going on inside that. Part of us thinks like, oh, I'm going to beat myself up into changing, right? I'm going to yell at myself and that's going to motivate me to change. Or there's a bit of like self-indulgent punishment that it feels good to wallow in your misery and just drive the knife in to your own heart. But it's like, you got to get out of that because that cycle of shame only drags you into repeating it. So you make a trade and you go, bro, I sold too early. This thing mooned, right? I still at times fall into this, right? I sold the bottom and now this thing, rocketed up. And what do? You bring up the chart every couple days to see how much higher it's going, just to make yourself feel bad, right? You sold that runner before it ran, and then you still bring that chart up just to make yourself feel bad. why are you doing that? Is
Yep.
that helping you? Does that help you make more money? Right? Or watching the chart where it goes down, hey, you should have cut your losses. And so it's really, really difficult to cut ties with your past decisions and be kind to yourself and say, hey, that's the past. That happened. What do we do right now? That's a very, very difficult thing. I'm still in the process of learning it, but that'd be the number one because I would get very much stuck in that, right? I would mid curve something. I'd make an emotional decision. I'm not built as a trader, not a good trader at all. Um,
Mm.
but allowing that negative thought pattern will just suck you into worse decisions. It
Yep.
actually reinforces the patterns that make you make those bad decisions in the first place. So that'd be the number one that in throughout my life, whether it's in my research career, whether it's in my marriage, whether it's in physical fitness and health, whether it's in trading, getting out of that self-flagellation, self-punishment mentality and berating yourself for your mistakes and instead being kind to yourself and being encouraging and saying, hey, past is the past. That
Mm-hmm.
happened. We got to go from right now, clean slate today.
Mm-hmm.
That's been the only way that I've been able to learn to move forward in all the different areas in my life.
Fuck, man. Wow. No, I'm super glad we covered that, man. It's I'm sure it's relatable for a lot of people, and even me, man. Similar to you, like, I only just turned 21 years old, and I've already experienced, over being in space for 4 years, like making millions, losing millions, and it's good timing because right now I'm actually reading a book called The Power of Now, and one thing it really talks about is how the past and present, they're honestly very, very irrelevant unless it's for practical use. But like if you're not learning from it or using it or thinking about it for practical use, it's honestly very pointless. Like all that matters is the present, really. People get stuck in what's called, I've learned in the book, called psychological time, which is, as you said, thinking about the present. Thinking about the past all the time. Thinking about the past, thinking about the past. They're all in their heads all the time. Or thinking about the future, And that's how all these problems occur, regrets or anxieties about the future and stuff like that. And yeah, man, I've come to learn as well, like, you need to learn from it from a practical point of view and then let go, man. Let go. And as you said, be kind. For me, bro, like, I feel like it's funny. I was thinking about this literally the other day. I was thinking, all right, so like, what's the difference between people that have huge events such as the one that you're mentioning and make it out to a brighter side, or ones that go through the extremely dark periods, such as ones that you said that, end up being suicidal and do suicide? And I feel like one of the key things, man, is you need to be delusional to a certain extent. And so, like, even with me, like, what I tell myself as a means of cope and as a means of pushing forward and learning and improving is literally telling myself, look, man, like, these huge mistakes, these huge events is like simply part of, the universe's plan, God's plan, whatever, in the future, just to make even more. Like, it's, if anything, it's from a bit of a greedy point of view. It's like, you know what? I'm happy with this $2 million mistake because now that means I can make 10, 20, 30 in the future. Like, I'm perfectly fine with it. And it's like, I need that perspective. I'm sure you needed some sort of perspective because without that, you have nothing, man. Like, I feel like it's impossible to cope without some sort of logic like that, like, at least for me.
Yeah, that people need hope, right?
Yes, bro.
That
Yes.
you have to have hope.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, like if you're hopeless, that's when you kill yourself. That's when you stop doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's actual, violent suicide or the slow suicide of just giving up in life and just deciding to trudge through and hey, I accept my lot in life and this is just what it is and I'll just live a quiet life of desperation. That you need hope and you could make that hope be delusional and hey, I'm just going to choose to believe X for that, or your hope could be rational. Let me say, I
Yeah.
believe that there's a God and He's good and something's going to work out for me, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that things working out for our good doesn't necessarily come in the form of dollar bills. Like you could lose that 2 million and maybe that gives you the skill set to make 10 million in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it
Yeah.
gives you the perspective to be able to be grounded and present and love your wife and raise your kids properly. That
Yeah.
everybody is trying, everybody wants a good life. And that's what you're optimizing for. The problem is a lot of times you think what's going to give you a good life is X, Y, and Z, the
Mm.
10 million, the 20 million, the different things. But oftentimes you're wrong about that.
It's just about
People
now.
think
It's
that,
just now.
right?
Yeah.
People think something's going to make them happy, but it oftentimes doesn't. So,
Yep.
maybe losing the 2 mil is going to set you up to make a whole bunch more later. And it's like, But real talk, what would you rather have? Would you rather have $10 million and be discontent, or would you rather have 500K and be content?
Yeah. Yeah. It's all a
It's like, bro,
mindset.
I want to be content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it has nothing to do with money for sure, and that's the thing. Like people get stuck in the problem of waiting for something to then be happy, but you shouldn't ever do that. Yeah. You mentioned before like the third person perspective, and I found like really fascinating because it all comes down to that in every aspect of life, like awareness, man. Just actually being aware of what's happening, and to be aware, you need to be in the present. Like that's why recently I've got into like meditation and stuff, just being able to really focus and learn to just be in the present and pay attention to your breath and little things like that. Like they make a real difference in everything, man. Personally, I've found. Yeah, fascinating. All right. Ooh, pitch me a favorite coin in 30 seconds, bro. What do you have for me, man? What do you want to talk about? I know you've talked, you're known to be involved with a few projects over the past, bro. XMW, SERV, NKP.
Yeah, right now, I'll pitch you NKP. That's probably the one that the team has asked me to kind of come on board and help them with a variety of things. They got in
Sure.
touch with me after launch and whatnot, and helping them. And it's one that I'm excited about because it meets the exact criteria of what I'm looking for, which is it's a real company that has the potential to make so much money. Like I'm less interested in the super fancy doodads and hey, we'll do all these cool, crazy things with tech. And like, just give me a business that makes dollar bills. And so this dude's been running all these projects for that generate carbon credits. And I knew nothing about this before getting into it, talking tons with him, and just realizing all these different projects, dude, people are throwing just gobs of money if you do these projects right. So some of it is conservation of rainforest. Some of it's actual reforestation. Some of it's bioremediation of cleaning up waste stuff. Some of it is waste processing, like this landfill that was just an environmental disaster that they come in and clean the whole thing up and get this proper for processing all of this waste stuff. Some of what's called waste valorization. That means taking things that would be garbage and processing them such that they have value again and can be used as feedstock for making other materials or converting stuff into fuel, doing biofuel stuff, biochar. Like there's all these different projects that if you do them in proper ways, some of them can be profitable on their own, right? They're plants that are producing valuable goods. But if you do them in a specific way and you can go through all the right channels and go through all the right regulations, right, jump through the hoops and cross your T's and dot your I's, you can be eligible for getting insane amounts of carbon credits issued on top of it. So you can take projects that are already doing good, whether for the environment or already economically beneficial, and turbocharge them with these carbon credits that are selling for, 15, 20, 25, 30, $35 a ton. And the projection is that these are going to be selling, for double that a little bit in the future. And the returns on this is just like, all right, over the next year or so, I would expect income streams of, in the millions easily. And talking with the team saying like, all right, what's the ceiling on this? How high could we, get your income, if you do all these projects and you keep raising money? And they're like 50 million, $100 million a year. Like not that that's going to happen tomorrow, but it's like, all right, if they get access to the capital, they can keep scaling these things. There's just so much opportunity. So I'm super, super excited about that just because, again, it's the team doesn't come from the Web3 side. They're not crypto bros trying to figure out how to do a business. It's like, this is a veteran business owner that's been doing these ventures for a long time. And now he's simply opening up access to his company via a crypto token.
So have they did they raise anything like pre-launch, I guess, or no?
No, so this is one thing where I can talk candidly about this, right? So they launched and they did a dumb launch, man, because they weren't Web3 experienced, and they were like, oh, other people have done a tax coin, and that's how you raise funds, and we'll do the same thing, and they've launched, and it wasn't a great thing, and the team will admit that, so I'm not disparaging them in any of it. But a large amount of the revenue is like the team. So like Will, the CEO, he's managing all these other projects. He doesn't own these massive projects because like one of them in Chaco Vivo, it's like a $300 million section of land that's being managed. Okay, he doesn't own that, but he manages that. He's getting paid, for that. And he's saying, all right, through my company, I'm willing to devote a good chunk of the money that I would get paid. So in a real way, they're raising money via the taxes, but a lot of the money is coming just straight out of his pocket that he's dedicating for this stuff. Because coming this fall into this winter, a large amount of carbon credits start getting unlocked from these projects. And so there's kind of a trade-off right now. It says, look, you buy the coin now, the taxes generate funds. We can use that money right now and start these other projects and get the things rolling at the moment. And then in the fall, I'm going to be dumping a bunch of essentially my own money, into this from these carbon credits that get unlocked.
So is one thing you weren't too fond of the fact that they launched with taxes? Like, is that it? Like, you're saying they still have taxes now then as well?
Yeah, they still have taxes now. They'll wind them down because they put like 35% of the supply into the liquidity pool, and launch with the taxes. So if you think about it as from a company, like if the token was a real representation of the company, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you give away 35% of your company for nothing?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Right? You wouldn't.
Yeah.
And again, not disparaging them at all. It's just, hey, they weren't experienced in Web3, but honestly, that's why there's the opportunity. Like after talking with the team, like, man, if they went through this the normal, slow way, easily they could have raised $10 to $20 million and launched this thing at 50 to 100 mil market cap. Easy. No doubt in my mind, based on their business model. So the fact that they were inexperienced in Web3 and launched it this way, it's like, yeah, that kind of sucks. But it also means there's an opportunity for me to buy this thing at this price, which I bought more yesterday. I put my money where my mouth is. I've been top blasting this chart for 2 weeks, and probably continue to do so. That it just seems like an easy layup. But we'll see. I mean, there's always risk in everything. So I don't want to tell people this is free money, but this is, in my opinion, the easiest reward to risk ratio. Though it's going to be a slow cook. It's not something that I think is going to 10x overnight. It's a real business, so it takes time for stuff to play out. I would say the fireworks would start really this fall, and then be really excited about all the things that they get online coming into next year.
No, I could tell, bro. Yeah.
I was going to say, so I view this as investing in a company that's building something out rather than like, hey, what's the next crypto play? Because I think if you're good on chain, honestly, there's better opportunities. If you're good at what you do, trading on chain, you're able to spot narratives, move quickly. There's going to be other coins that do more multiples more quickly that you can seize.
Yeah, but then again, but you can buy more into these though. That's the thing, right? It depends on preference. Like me personally, bro, I prefer the ones that I can sleep on very, very, very comfortably, and know I can just keep accumulating, DCAing. That's my personal preference. Yeah. I could tell it was going to be a slow cook when I first saw it. A good friend of mine was sharing it to me around here. Yeah, it does it really good, man. Yeah, I'll keep an eye on it as well. Yeah, all right, cool, man. Thanks for sharing that. Thank you. All right, we're almost there. So what's something you believe that everyone's too scared to say? I mean, you already have said a few things, bro. Maybe you already have said something.
Yeah, like it it's most of the stuff that I said earlier, where it's like, hey, this space is a scam, and people will pay lip service to it. Yeah, it's like no, like literally, this like here's something, man. I'll offend a bunch of people with this. I usually do. There's almost no S tier talent in crypto. Okay, I'll say this to everybody: crypto land is the kiddie crack den casino. Very immature people, very unskilled people. If you're like good at what you do, if you're a good AI engineer, brother, Google, OpenAI, Meta, they will fight to the death to hire you and pay you big money.
They can launch their own labs, bro, and that's unfortunately how it probably is, right? I'm sure there is smart people in the space like that, just using it for bad intentions, right? Probably.
Yeah. So it's like either something is generally wrong. Like if you're in crypto, okay, generally speaking, for 99% of people, someone will get offended by this. Something is wrong in your life if you're in crypto. Something is wrong. You either don't have the skill set to go out into the world and produce something of value, or you're a bit morally corrupt. You know that this is a bad game, but you're here because you're good at it and you can make money.
Yeah, that's a fair way.
Something has gone wrong in your situation where you're like, I I need to make a bunch of money. For me, I was going to exit crypto after I became disillusioned with it, right? I came in as a true believer. Hey, the tech and the world and revolutionize this and yay, right?
Mm.
Eventually got slapped in the face enough until I became disillusioned. Then I was like, I'm out of this. I don't want to be in this. Then I made bad choices and had a bunch of debt after I lost everything in Anchor. And then I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm stuck here because there's no other path for me to get myself out of this hole. So that's why I kind of stuck around for that. Out of like, there's no other option I could envision to fix my situation. And I'm painting with a broad brush, and I speak a bit hyperbolically, but this place is just the kids' table. Like when you talk to professionals that have run real businesses and they come in to this, they're just disgusted. They're like, everybody sucks. Everybody's so unprofessional, so disorganized. Like this is nobody knows how to run a business. Nobody knows how to have actual accounting going on. Nobody's financially responsible. Like these teams are a mess. That's just the reality of this, because if anybody can launch a project, you're run by some dev. I got some idea and I convinced some people and showed me some stuff. It's just very, very immature space. It is the kids' table. This is not where real money is. This is not where the real builders are. Now, there are exceptions, right? So somebody's going to get real mad here and that. There's a few exceptions. Most people know this to be true, but they don't want to say that because that kills the illusion of the game that they want to play. Right? I want to pump my bags and dump on the plebs, get my money. But like that's why when you ask like what are your biggest wins, and everything, it's like both my wins and my losses fill me with shame of last cycle, because every dollar I made from last cycle came from someone else losing that money. Like if I invest in Apple in 1980 and I make a bunch of money in 2000, 2010, that didn't come off the back of people losing, because they built a business. They created value. They literally made wealth by making new things that improved people's lives, right? They had a profitable business. So me making a bunch of money on Apple stock didn't have to come from other people losing money. But if I made a bunch of money on Ohm and Time and some, nodes, every dollar bill I made came from someone else losing that money. No value was created.
Does it make you feel better knowing that? Does it make you feel better knowing that they knew that was the game anyway? So like, you're both fine with it, or what?
Not really, right? Like if I show up at a poker game and we're both gambling and I win a bunch of money, it's not. I'm not saying like, hey, this is blood money and it's like intrinsically evil. It's just like I want to create value in the world, and I want and so like the things that I'm invested in right now for this cycle, I hold very few things. And for the most part, they're ones that I'm like, hey, I believe this has a chance to create something of value, right? Mm-hmm. Like the stuff that Morphware is doing. Hey, we're going to buy a bunch of Bitcoin miners. We're going to buy a bunch of GPUs. We're going to run this on cheap electricity. We're going to provide inference. We're going to be profitable. We'll run this as a company. Everything is going to come down to execution, right? Will they succeed? Will they not succeed? That's another thing, right? There's always risk here. But the value prop makes sense. Here's how we make money: by providing services to other people, mining Bitcoin, OpenServe with the apps that they're building. So the things that I hold, largely are ones, and maybe I'm an idiot, right? Maybe I'm totally wrong. Totally fine. But they're ones that I believe will generate real value for people. And the open secret in this space is that it's mostly a grift, so much illegal activity goes on in this space. Things that would put people in jail in the real world are the bread and butter daily activities here. Yep. And the things that keep psychopathic behavior in check in the real world are social exclusion and physical violence. That's how you keep bad guys in check. It's either you're a jerk, I'm not going to do business with you anymore, or you're running around stabbing people and I'm going to stop you, whether that's with a gun or something else. In crypto, we don't really have either of that. Because look at me, I'm a cartoon character. I'm anonymous. Doxed to a handful of people in this space, right? If you needed to find me, you probably could. I don't have great OPSEC, and it's not that important to me, but it's easier to operate anonymously. Right? And if you get scammed by some dude in the Balkan Mountains, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
You're not going to do anything. So, without physical violence or social exclusion, psychopaths run rampant here. Honestly, I don't think this space gets any better until we get more headlines of, crypto scam devs found hanging dead from street lamp. Need a bunch more of those headlines. There's just
Well,
no
bro,
fear of
like,
reprisal. Dude, no fear of reprisal. No fear of reprisal, dude. Get scammed. Dude steals, $300,000 from me and others, right? People run a multi-million-dollar scam. What's the response, right? You try to file a police report, nothing happens, and people are like, "Bro, move on. Go to the next trade." Right? People just like they don't care, right? They're just like, I can't be bothered to follow up on it. I'm seeking the next trade because it's not good RR to try to pursue legal action. So there's very little reprisal for the people that do extremely illegal things here.
regulation is bound to come, bro. Matter of time
Yeah,
before
maybe.
all this is gone. Like in terms of all
Yeah,
the small caps and it being so easy to go to market and this and that. Like eventually, not saying anytime soon
eventually.
necessarily,
But
but yeah.
right now, we got the grifter in chief, right? Nobody's going to jail for what Trump did, right? You
Oh,
launched the
crazy.
Trump coin, launched the Melania coin, all that stuff. It's crime season right now. Nobody's going to jail for copying the playbook that the president just did.
Bro, the
It's
president. How do I
max
forget
distract
about that?
season.
Oh man.
Right? The
Oh man.
president of the United States of America
Oh my
launched
gosh.
a meme coin, right?
I still don't believe it. Nah. It's
Right? It's a crazy timeline. So yeah, maybe, probably,
but
eventually.
but more than
Right now,
morals,
though,
man. More
right
than
now it's crime
morals.
season.
Yeah, 100%. Probably for a while. More than morals, though, man. I do agree with you that it just comes down to even like maybe it's a bit of an ego thing. Maybe it's like wanting to, from a personal point of view, genuinely wanting to create value in the world, right? Like a purpose rather than just making money. And I think that's what it comes down to as well. I think that's something you and I are similar in as well. Just wanting to actually make something of use, you know, with the products we're working with and stuff. So,
Yep.
all right, bro. Let's do it. Oh, what does making it actually look like to you? What does making it look like to you, man?
I think it would be for me. My ambitions are much smaller than they were before when kind of greed ballooned my head. I think making it for me would be getting to the place where we can have a house that's paid off,
Mm-hmm.
and then having enough in reserve that I can choose what I work on. I don't want to be like I have to never work again, retire my bloodline. I think that's ultimately going to be bad for your kids and your grandkids if you do
Mm,
that.
mm,
I think it's being able to allocate my time and energy to create value where I want to, rather than just having to sell my time to the highest bidder.
yep.
So being at a place where I can say, where do I want to work? What do I believe in? And now the salary itself is not as big a deal, right? Of having that cushion in the background. So it's not like, you know what, this guy will pay me 20K more a year, so I'm going to go over here instead. And then we're like, you know what? This is the company I like. This is what I believe in. I'm gonna work there. So making it to me would be having a paid off house and then having the freedom to choose where I'm allocating my time and energy to work and create value.
Mm-hmm. Just freedom, man. Really. Same here. Just freedom. Yeah. So you full time in crypto or not? Or you are?
I am at the moment. Yeah, most
Cool.
of what I do is calls pretty much all day of trying to help people solve problems. Like I said, I'm not a big famous dude. So
Mm.
generally speaking, I get in touch with teams after things have gone wrong, and they're like, "Well, what do we do from here?" And then we get creative and find solutions.
Yeah. No, I feel you, man. A lot of behind the scenes work. Yeah, same here. So like, yes, you said you're very selective and not so many teams. So is it usually just mainly spending your time on those few projects like NKP, as you said, and XMW and stuff like that? So and all that.
Yeah, and I take a lot of random one-off calls,
Oh, okay.
with people as well. I'll just get friends and yeah, I'll pull in favors and like, all right, we'll have a couple hour session and talk through things. I've probably stacked my plate a little bit too much lately, been stretched a little thin in commitments because again, the work that I do is often in putting out fires. So for some relationships that I have with projects, like hey, we do a lot of heavy lifting early on, and there's a bunch that's intensive, and then for a while there's not a lot for me to do. I'm not doing day to day
Mm.
operations,
Yep.
and then it'll be some crisis happens, and it's like okay, all hands on deck. Need to spend a lot of time over several days helping them work through stuff. So things kind of line up that way. But yeah, I'd say it's a pretty small number,
Mm.
pretty small number that I'm doing stuff with, and definitely have my kind of hierarchy of ones that I have to prioritize that I have
Mm.
greater commitments to.
No, I respect that, man. Like even like the one-off calls and stuff like that. I'm sure the goodwill you're building is definitely very nice and valuable, as well. So that's cool. Yeah. All right, this is the last one, bro. So if crypto disappeared tomorrow, what would you be doing? What would you do if crypto's gone?
Um, what's funny is I might actually go join Will and join his company and build out some of the plants and factories that they're doing for these carbon credit projects. Work
Wow.
on some like biofuel or biochar things. It'd be fun to get back into the lab. If that wasn't, I mean that's maybe right. I'm not presuming that's the thing, but that's one potential. I'd go back into industry in some way. Probably go back into the lab. That's what I love and enjoy. But it's a good question. Based on
So
where I'm
what?
at right
So what
now,
sort of
yeah,
engineer?
I'd
What
probably,
was it?
probably go back.
Sorry. What sort of
It
engineering?
was chemical engineering. It was
Chemical.
chemical engineering. I'm much more of a lab chemist, right? I'm not in the industrial field. I loved being in the lab and doing the physical experiments there and reading the papers and setting stuff up. So yeah, if crypto just completely disappeared, I'd probably look for an opportunity to go back into the lab.
Hmm. Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool. That's fair. Well, man, we've had an amazing call. It did go longer than I thought, but I really enjoyed it, man. We covered a lot. It was amazing talking to you, man. Thanks so much.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Of course, bro. All right.